All right, here we go. Welcome, guys. We've got another interview. Annemarie is just an amazing. I was thinking about it today. I was like, you were just real, just like you, and inspiring, but down to earth, and all like a beautiful mix. And I can't wait to dive into this conversation with you. So thank you for being here today. I know you have a very busy schedule, so thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm really thrilled to be doing this. I think this will be helpful to lots of people.
Cool. Well, let's dive in. I'll let you introduce yourself, to tell you a bit about what you do, and then maybe you want to share your story about what has been your journey so far.
So I am Annemarie Ciccarella. I live in New York. Actually, I live on the ocean, which I'm staring at now, which is quite wonderful. Yeah, it's very calming.
Yeah.
I was diagnosed with invasive breast cancer in 2006. I went through a whole series of surgeries, 8 rounds of chemotherapy, and then 10 years rather of an estrogen suppressant.
Wow.
And I am now officially off all cancer medications with the exception of a shot that I get to take care of my bones. Um, and I have a family history, so there's things going on now. My mom is living with metastatic disease for 5 years, although I'm blessed and thankful to say that she's stable on her medications. I have an issue with my BRCA genes being mutated in ways that they think are insignificant, but they can't be sure. So, there's that in play, which of course worries me because of family members that could also be. But absent any definitive information, I'm just going with right now we think that they're harmless. And I've gotten myself involved I started writing a blog about 7 years ago, and that became a vessel to opening up a whole world, literally around the world, of friendships and getting involved in research really all over the country, this country, the United States, and attending science meetings and trying to help people navigate through the initial diagnosis, the treatment phases, and then what happens after, and all of those kind of anxiety moments that we all live with. I had a thing where I had this pain going on up here, and of course it took me like 6 months maybe to go to the doctor because of course I was convinced it was, something going on in my bones, which of course it wasn't. But you seem to, feel from speaking to others that are in the same situation, that's automatically where your mind goes.
Yeah.
Every headache means it's spread to your brain, every in your lungs, every pain, it's in your bones. And that's kind of rough to navigate. So, but you do it. You find a way and you do it.
And
So that's how I got here today.
exactly. And I would love to dive straight into that because I've heard the story about your shoulder, and that was something that I really remembered. That was like, I really would love you to dive into that a little bit more. How did you navigate through that? Because I knew you were very resistant in the beginning, and then like 6 months later, you go to a doctor to find out, of course, that it's nothing, but you never know. How was that little period of time for you, and what shifted that you ended up taking the advice to go to the doctor?
So I couldn't quite tell where the pain was. It, it was stemming, as it turns out, from something going on in my neck. But there are plenty of nerves in there and they can radiate down and cause pain in the weirdest places. So it was my clavicle and then it was my arm, and I just was convinced that it was, look, when your mom's when your dearest friend is dealing with metastatic disease, it's very hard to stay. So I remember, my mom didn't know as it was unfolding. Lori, on the other hand, did know and kept yelling at me, you need to get to the doctor. And I would joke around with her about it, saying, listen, we both know that right now the science shows that, if I detect this early, it's not going to change the survival outcome. So I'd rather be ignorant and happy. And once I cross over that line and they tell me that that's what's going on, so she kind of like went with that and said, all right, that's fair enough. But she kept pushing me. You really need to get that checked. And finally, when I convinced myself that it was not cancer, I actually thought I had lymphedema. And I went to the doctor. I actually hijacked one of my mother's oncology appointments. I said, I think I have lymphedema. She tells the oncologist during her monthly appointment, they call me and said, get in here immediately. They had the physical therapist evaluate me. He evaluated me. It's not lymphedema. And you need to go see an orthopedic, which I did. And he sends me for an MRI. And the first words out of the guy's mouth were, well, I can't rule out that it's not cancer given your history. I was like, I just got myself out of that mindset. And here you are telling me, you're throwing it right back on the table at me. I went for the MRI, and as it turned out, it's compressed discs in my neck. But there was a period between him saying that, me going for the MRI, and then getting the test results, that I was in this state of such anxiety over, is that what's going on? Is that what I'm going to have to deal with? And fortunately, that wasn't. Not to say that it wasn't painful. I ended up on medication. I ended up getting a nerve block, and now we seem to be, kind of stabled out with the pain. But I do know, because I had the that everything seems to be okay. So, lesson learned that, putting that off and living with pain for 6 months was not a good plan.
It's a little bit like putting my head in the sand. I'm just going to pretend nothing is happening, which in the end, we all know it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I lived with pain for 6 months for no reason, other than, having to face a fear.
And well, that's the thing. It is we allow the fear to take over and basically stop our life in its tracks. And that is such an important thing. That's why I'm such an advocate of learning how to approach your fear and watch at it and just acknowledging it, and also working through it and being like, I can see that you're there, and we're going to go anyway, because my health, my life, my precious life is more important than the fear.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. No one said it would be easy.
No, not at all. But, it was a big lesson for me to, kind of pay a little more attention, and, next time you kind of take the deep breath and suck it up and do what I need to do to going on in the moment, not necessarily right in the moment, but certainly not wait 6 months. That's not a good plan. Waiting 6 months was not a good plan for me. So
in the end, that was the time you needed to learn the lesson, and next time hopefully the lesson will kick in a little bit sooner and the reminder will be there. By the way, hi Esther, thank you for joining. So nice to have you here. Anytime guys you're jumping on, even if you're watching the replay, please just leave a comment and ask us any questions, because we will come back to them. Even if it's after the replay, we will answer any questions that pop up for you. And I know you've just been to a retreat, which very powerful.
Oh my gosh, it was wonderful.
It
was wonderful.
Yeah.
So there's an organization out in Arizona. The name of the nonprofit is Bag It, as in they put together bags to bring to newly diagnosed patients, with just, to kind of navigate through when you're first diagnosed. And that's a horrible time. You first of all, it's like the oxygen every room that you happen to stand in, and everything is about, it's cancer. it's cancer. Am I going to die? What's going to happen next? And so they put this package together to help support people through that part. So they also, as a part of that program, have once a year they do this, what they call escape, which I'm going to mess up the acronym, but it is to sustain the efforts of advocates, because it can be really emotionally draining to be in that space. And so the need to kind of sustain yourself and to take care of yourself is as important as it is to try, like I feel like I'm a giver, and as people always tell me, you can't donate both kidneys, or, put your own oxygen mask on first. And I tend to forget that sometimes. And I will just give until I have nothing left to give, and then find myself, like flat on the sofa for 2 days wondering why. And your emotions do take a big toll on you. So this program is set up where half the day you're in educational sessions to learn how to be a more effective advocate, how in any given space, whether it's the research space or advocating for policy change or, helping others. And then the other half of the day is using the facilities at a resort in Tucson, Miraval, which is a wellness / spa / most amazing place on the planet. It's in the middle of the mountains, and it's just, it's really hard to be stressed when you get there. From the minute you pull up, with the water, the way the waterfalls are set up and the running brooks, and you see the mountains in the background, and there's owls on the property, and every once in a while you'll hear the owls making their little hoot sounds. And I came back. I was in such a mess I left on New Year's Day. And leading up to New Year's Day, there were so many things going on, including the death of a very dear friend, unexpected death of a very dear friend that was not in the cancer space. The day before, I was on New Year's Eve, I was rethinking the whole thing, saying, there's no way I can't get on a plane. And then the smarter part of my brain said, no, this is exactly what you need to do. And this is exactly where you need. As soon as I got there, it was like, oh, you can almost feel the calmness start to wash over you, which many levels allows you to get much more out of the sessions, because you've just mitigated all of the nonsense of being in your real world. There's papers over there, there's phone calls that have to be made, there's to-do lists over there. You're just removed from all of it. And so that you can really kind of listen to what's being presented to help in the efforts that you bring home with you. And then you can participate in the wellness activities that they have. And I mean, some of them are challenging. I mean, I ended up, taking a leap off of a 35-foot pole, which was not bungee jumping, which somebody did ask me. I'm like, no, I was tethered, and it really wasn't a leap. It was just a step. The whole challenge is to realize that you must keep moving forward.
Yes.
Because as you're climbing to get to the top of this pole, I before about two and a half years ago, and I remember the last time saying, I think I just want to go back. And the facilitator of the group said, yeah, that's not an option. The whole purpose of this exercise is the understanding that you must keep moving forward. And if you can't get to the top, that's fine. Down slowly. And there was a point where I didn't think I was going to be able to get to the top. lessons that I learned, well, as I was like kind of struggling with my legs to step up to the top of the pole. And I, I don't recall it being that difficult the last time, that part of it. And yet when I surrendered in my mind and said, you know what? If this is all you have right now in this moment, that's enough. And that is good enough. And if you can only get to these pegs today, well, that's all you have for today. And that truly is enough. And the young man that was with me, holding onto the ropes, said, I will let you down. If you can't get up, the moment of surrender was the moment when I was able to finally take those last two steps and find myself standing on top of on top of this pole and just staring out at the beauty of the mountains and then, talking to him, which, I'm like, all right, now I don't know if I really want to look down at you because now I'm looking down 35 feet, which is kind of high. But I was able to do it. I looked at him and I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm like, I'm not, last time I think I closed my eyes. I am looking you right in the eye and I am going to take this step when I'm ready. And I did. And when I got down, we sat and talked about the whole experience, needing to move forward and being, just whatever you have in any given moment is enough.
Yeah, it's important.
It is. And I think that we beat ourselves up so much
Yeah.
when we feel like we should be able to give more. And should is not a good word.
No.
Should is not a good word. It's really not a good word. It's it's self-defeating because you're setting yourself up for something by using that word. And basically you're setting yourself up, if I think had I said I should be able to get to the top because I did this before, I probably would have told him, let me off. You can tether me down. And instead my approach was not, I should be able to do this. It was, this may be all I have right now. And if that's the case, this is enough. What a powerful message and lesson that was for me. And that was the first activity I did when I arrived. So
That's a beautiful start.
yeah, it set the tone for the next 4 days, which were just absolutely amazing. Just, I think I can speak for everyone that was at that. In saying that, the bonds you form, you go into this and there were some people there that I knew that I was very close to, some people I had met for the first time. I came away with 20 new best friends.
And
because
it's an amazing thing that when we go, like, whether we're in a group or a coaching or but the connection of community and like-minded people and hearing each other's stories and going through an emotional journey of experiences like that and sharing things that binds us on such a deeper level that you just become family.
Yes.
And that's something that we often tend to miss in daily life because we're just caught up in the doing and not so much in the being.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great statement. That is a great statement. Yep. Caught up in the doing and not in the being. And that's, if the escape program and Miraval, especially the way the whole resort or whatever wellness property is structured, it's all about being in the moment. I wish I had kept near me. They have in the rooms little pouches that are sleeping bags for your cell phone.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We should all put our phone in a sleeping, I put mine on airplane mode because I'm like, no way that energy is coming near my sleeping, which is so sacred.
Yeah, because the need to feel always connected. Right? And it was like within the room and the little sleeping bag, the little canvas bag that, says, your cell phone sleeping bag, and it's so adorable. But within the room, they have this little tiny wooden bed that It's adorable. But the little canvas bag that, they give you as a gift to, you can take it home, and then they sell them in the gift shop. And in fact, I bought a couple to give to a few people here, that I feel are a little too connected.
Well, and that's the thing. What is real connection?
That's
Really?
right.
Because we're connected to our phones, and again, it's quite a bit of doing. And it is not so much that true connection and diving deeper. Exactly like Esther says, like being in the moment. It is such a precious thing, and
Yeah.
also being in the moment, being in the moment with our feelings, and knowing that, like you say, is enough.
Yes.
How miraculous is it that when we are struggling and we're like, I should have enough energy, I should be able to do this because before I was able to do this,
Yeah.
you set yourself up. It's a battle, and
Yeah.
as soon as you surrender and be like, I'm just gonna allow whatever I have today, it is good enough, and that brings so much warmth and kindness to it that you all of a sudden are capable of much more. And I
Yes.
think with a
Yes.
lot of survivors after treatments, that's what I see often is people are like, oh, I should be able to do this, and I should have enough energy by now, which happens a lot, or I should be able to pick up my work or be running around with my kids or whatever. And that's where we kind of, you get into a fight with yourself, and that's such a shame of your precious being in the moment, where you could also see the gifts.
Yeah. And I think the thing with that too is, I've come to learn, if I listen to my body today, and today my body is telling me, you know what, you don't have it. And I had to, so going back to the pain in my shoulder, I was on this medication that was very difficult to wean off of. And part of it was every time I dropped down, I had a miserable day and a half. And the first time that happened, I tried to push myself through. And in pushing myself through, I got, basically nothing done fast. So the next time I dropped down a dose, I said, okay, lesson learned from last time. You're going to try to push yourself, and no, you're not. You're going to, if it means you're sitting with your feet up watching some stupid mindless television because you don't even have the bandwidth to read, then laptop is getting slammed shut and television is going on, so I don't have to, with something really, really mindless. And I'm just going to lay here and realize this is it. And I would wake the next day, and I had wanted to do the day before plus some. So that's where I say, should is just a not good word. I having, but again, I think it's really important to, I had a yoga instructor that would always tell me it's so important to check in with yourself.
Yeah.
The first time she said it, I'm like, no idea what she's talking about. What is it? What does that mean? Check in with myself. And then it started to mean something to me. I'm like, all right, I get it. It's, where are you right now? What's happening around you right now that really does require your attention? And what can wait? And learning to realize, okay, this is all I have to give today. And these are the people that are around me that, mean the world to me. And if I feel like I need to be there for someone else because they're in a bigger struggle than I am, well, then that's that day. And so that's where the checking in and understanding I only have this much to give and I have these many things to do, but I have to prioritize.
Yeah.
And I've learned to prioritize people over things.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
precious. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
True.
So you kind of be there when you need to be there. And, you and I had the conversation about favorite expressions, which you used, and it just touched my heart when you said it about holding space for another.
Yeah.
Because so many people want to fix. And that's our nature, I think. You want to
Yeah.
fix it for somebody when they don't really want to be fixed. They just maybe want to be heard. And they just maybe want somebody to sit beside them and say, okay, I got this. I'm
Mm.
here with you. You know, a touch of an arm. I'm sitting here holding your hand, and I'm basically following your lead. You're the one with the needs right now, and I'm going to just be an unconditional friend.
Yeah.
Uh,
That is.
I'm not being a cheerleader. I am going to follow your lead and give you whatever it is that you need, because that's the way to be empathetic,
Yeah.
sympathetic, to truly hold space for someone, is to give them what they need, not what you think they need.
No,
So,
so powerful, and it's because we were talking about it, and I've been talking about it today earlier as well with a friend that, like you say, like often we just want to fix things, and as soon as someone has a little emotional moment or is like doesn't know what to do, also when people don't know what to do, we want to offer the solution or offer the tissue, and that in that way you're not really seeing that person, you're not really acknowledging and respecting and loving them
oh,
who
that's
and how they
true.
are. You're kind of
That's
like
so true.
diminishing it by wanting to wipe it away.
That's
So
right. That's exactly what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing. You're not acknowledging whatever it is that they're going through. You're not letting them feel their feelings. You're trying to get them to, like I said, be the cheerleader. You
mm,
know, some circumstances, unfortunately in my life, I went through almost, it seems like every 2 months, it was the loss of another person that was so near and dear to me. And, you know, some of it I was able to prepare myself for because I did know it was coming. And so the other two cases, it was a shock.
mm,
And it's not that one hurts more or hurts less. It's just that when you have that little bit of air, you're not also dealing with the shock.
yeah,
So before you can get to the grief, you got to get beyond the shock.
mm,
So it's just different. And I think when you allow yourself to understand what it is you're feeling in the moment, and then in the cases of the people that I knew were, literally out of treatment options, be there for them, I would just be,
yeah,
and let them just be.
mm,
And I think that's so important. And unfortunately, when you choose to advocate in a space where disease that can be the outcome, you need to kind of put yourself in that space of, I can't fix this. I know I can't fix this. They're aware it's not, unquote, fixable at this point. So what's the next best thing? I'm just going to be. And I am going to, offer unconditional love and support, and we get there together. And, and then for the people that live like I did with the fear,
mm.
oh, the worst is what's going to happen. You kind of hold their hand through it too. And when they're ready to do, I mean, I was pushed a little bit, you got to get to a doctor. And then
Sometimes you need a
immediate,
little bit of a push of like, yes, I
a
can
little,
see
yeah.
you
And,
dwelling
and that,
into something, and now it's time to get moving. And
yeah. And
sometimes
that was
that's very
fine.
precious.
And then it was all right. If you're not ready, then I'm going to sit right with you until you are.
Yeah,
And, and that's okay too. But, you know, um, sometimes it takes a little bit of uh, give and take conversation of, all right, let's break this down. What's the
that's the
worst?
thing.
What's the,
Yeah,
what's the worst possible outcome? And maybe it's not that. And, and having that logical conversation when your mind is in a very illogical place. So there's so many aspects to this. And I know most people that are living beyond a cancer diagnosis after they're released from treatment, and they're not seeing their doctors, it's a terrifying time. You're so used to having, being closely watched. You're seeing a doctor once a month,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they say, see you in 3 months, and you walk out the door terrified saying, what do you mean 3 months?
Yeah.
I need somebody to make sure I'm okay every single day. I can't wait 3 months to come back here. So, navigating through, I mean, there are lots of twists and turns on this, diagnosis through treatment, beyond treatment, into, the survivorship realm, which, one of the organizations that I volunteer with, defines survivorship in a most inclusive manner, where they say it's from the moment of diagnosis through treatment, through post-treatment, and including end-of-life care.
Mm.
So it's
It's everything.
inclusive of
Because as
everyone.
soon as you hear the words "you have cancer," like everything shifts and changes. And
Know that there are plenty of people that can't embrace the word, and to those I would say that's fine.
mm,
But whatever word you choose to call it, I mean, personally, I don't like to say I had cancer. I like to say I am a cancer patient, but it's too lengthy. I'm a cancer patient,
it's
10 years
whatever you want to
post-active
put on it.
treatment, blah,
Like,
blah. I mean, it becomes a paragraph. So, all right, so survivor, not my favorite word, but when I take it to mean that it's the entire trajectory of the disease from the moment of diagnosis through whatever end of life looks like, whether it's cancer or something else. It's always on your shoulder.
yeah,
And so you're surviving it.
that's a little subtle difference, I think. Well, subtle. It's an impactful difference, but it is a difference with some other diseases that there's always that fear on your shoulder with a pain or something happening or like an insecurity. And at the same time, some people also manage to move away from that and really release that fear. Like every person is different.
That's
And I
right.
think all of us can strive to release that fear and insecurity as much as possible. And like the ocean, everything comes in waves. And
Oh, yes.
sometimes you have a big wave and you're like, oh, okay, here we go. And it's just requiring the tools to be able to work through that. And like you say,
Absolutely.
we gotta keep moving. We gotta keep moving forward because that's what life does. If something doesn't grow anymore, then it's dead. If a flower doesn't grow anymore, it's died. So
Yep.
whether we want to or not, it will keep moving. We will keep moving as long as that we're breathing. And we might as well, like learn how to navigate as best as we can.
That's right. That's right. And that's the key. And what works for one may not work for another.
Exactly. And it's the same
And
with the
to,
language. Like
yes,
whatever word you choose to like make sure that it is something that you feel okay with and that
yes,
checking in with yourself, like how I choose to live my life, how I choose to use my language, because with our language we create our words. With our words we create our worlds. That is it. It is like whatever, checking in and choosing something that works for you. And that in
yes.
the end with everything, with how you are with your family, how you choose to spend your time, your treatments, the words you build around it, like everything.
Yeah, and I think the other part of that is to be respectful of the way others,
Yeah.
if someone is doing something differently than you, but it works for them, well, it's not up to me to say my way works better than your way. It's up to me to say, if that's what works for you and you need my help, I'm
Yeah.
right here. I'm sitting beside. I'm a phone call away. You want to talk through something? You want me to just hold space for you? You want me to come and sit and hold your hand? You want to, jump on a Skype call? You want whatever you want to do. I mean, I will always defer to how to fulfill someone else's needs, which goes back to what we were saying. It's not about trying to fix. It's about really in tune with what the other person, meeting the other person where they are
Yeah.
and not trying to like, I don't want anybody trying to cram their beliefs down my throat. That's not to say, though, that
Oh,
I won't be more to listen to what they have to say, because I think we all have something to learn from one another.
yeah.
And the learning comes in the listening.
Mm, yeah.
If you really listen and you're really in tune with what's going on in someone else's, situation, there are lessons to be learned, and lessons that you carry into your own life. So that's kind of the way I choose to, and this has been a process, learning this
Everything is a
has
process.
been, yeah,
Yeah.
it's been quite a process to learn that this is the best way to, to be effective, and, try to reach and let them know that, I am here and I am authentic and I am not trying to, you know, put myself out there because I want to be in front of a camera. I would much rather be, someone once said to me, made a comment about something I was involved in and said, I should have known, of course, you're always under the radar. And I thought to myself, you just paid me the greatest compliment without even realizing that you did, because I don't, that's where I would prefer to stay, under the radar, and just rolling up my sleeves and hopefully helping somebody or making a difference in some small way. And I think if we all do things in some small way, we can have a big impact. So that's, yeah,
It's
yeah.
powerful. It's
So
beautiful. Like the work that you do, it's like you're meaning a lot, which is, yeah, thank you for that. Um, let's finish off with what has been the biggest lesson throughout your own cancer journey? The biggest lesson, the biggest
yeah,
gift.
well, I don't like the word I don't like the gift is not the fact. So we'll never call cancer a gift, but I will say that I have developed friendships that mean more to me than I could have ever imagined. And those relationships would never have happened if not for the cancer diagnosis, because I would not have stepped into this space and I would have never met so many of those people. So those people are gifts in my life.
Mm,
And the gifts came as a result of the cancer diagnosis. So, there's a concept of post-traumatic growth after
yes.
post-traumatic stress, which,
Yeah.
um, you know, cancer is most definitely life event, and the growth that can come out of that. And I know that there are people that are doing research on this, how people can grow from horrible situations,
Mm.
and not that it makes you a better person, and not that
Oh
it's
no.
just that there's a growth that takes place, and whatever that growth looks like in any one person is, again, it's all about acceptance. And so I think that that have come to me as a result of having had this horrible diagnosis, and having to face those fears, and then learning to live and sit with the, and how to kind of get past that, and staying in the moment. So there were lots of like little, I'm going to call them post-traumatic growth exercises, that came out of my, out of something that was really truly awful. I mean, no one wants to
Yeah.
hear cancer. It's just not something that you want to have
Let's do
as
this.
part of your life. But the truth is, it's going to touch every single one of us, either self, I mean, that's just a fact of life and the way the statistics are. And, um, you know, it's not making lemonade out of lemons. It's putting one foot in front of the other each and every day, and just figuring out, okay, what do I have in me for today?
Yeah.
And again, whatever it is.
That's amazing. Let's finish with that. Thank you for the incredible lessons and nuggets and stories. It's been incredible. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you got some value out of this. We will be doing more interviews here and there. I'm already speaking to more people out of this week to continue the conversations, because there's so many people that have lots of post-traumatic growth to share, and for us to be inspired by their strength and their realness and authenticness. It's amazing. So thank you for being here. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.